that first part is going to be a Twitch highlight for later. But until then, this is, as far as you know, this is the start of the actual show. Dan Calchico, Craig Lagon's over there. It's the HIAC Wrestling Podcast. Harry Barnett is looking around, waiting for his opportunity to attack. That's how we do things here on the HIAC Wrestling Podcast. Gator is not going to be on. Some personal issues that he's mentioned on Twitter that I won't mention here. He's dealing with it. So we'll get him on at another time. You've used all those before, Harry. It's boring. It's boring. I beat you to it. Sausage fingers, tissues, redneck, West Virginia. You're like Justin with none of the talent. It's weird. It's weird. It's the same thing. Justin actually, evolves and comes up with new things and is actually funny. And Harry just bores me with his funny little accent. But here we go. I'm in a foul mood. So I'm going to work that into the works and hopefully scare him away as a viewer. But anyway. So now instead of your door getting attacked, not attached, your door is fixed. So technically it was attached.
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus is the thing we're talking about in Philly now. And I just want to say on the record, Chris Columbus is a pedophile and a mass murdering F-head. To steal a line from Eddie Izzard about Adolf Hitler, we can also, at a much grander scale, Mr. Hitler, the J.O. that he was, Christopher Columbus was also an a-hole, conniver, a liar, and a mass murderer, and also reportedly a pedophile. So, of course, the Italians are defending him. Craig?
I switched over. Usually my background, unlike yours, Dan, the red light district is adorned with Philadelphia swag. Amber has taken over that spot. So for those of you who don't know, fans of HIC Talk Radio, I do live in Philadelphia. As Dan alluded to earlier, my door was attacked during the May 30th looting in Philadelphia. I live at ground zero, for those of you who don't know. I'm fine. My door wasn't. It was just most recently fixed. The city of Philadelphia, as a whole, since the looting and being on national news and everything, my door has been fixed. Windows have been replaced. Curfew has been lifted. I no longer sleep to the sounds of a helicopter overhead.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But right now, the only discord in Philadelphia presently is down at Marconi Plaza, which is located in South Philadelphia. And South Philadelphia is primarily occupied by mostly Italian Americans. So in Marconi Plaza is a statue of Christopher Columbus. Now, earlier this month, or a couple weeks ago, Frank Rizzo, another prominent Italian, his statue was removed because and when it was put up, I want to point this out for people that are, why would they remove the statue of Frank Rizzo? Before it was put up, it was protested. Okay, Frank Rizzo, for anyone not familiar with who has never lived in Philadelphia, was a mayor here. And like someone else in authority who called himself a law and order something, he called himself a law and order mayor. And law and order is code for I'm going to break people, I'm going to strong arm people, I'm going to call names and physically try to intimidate anyone that comes in my way. Even though I'm the mayor, I'm still going to physically fight you if I don't like what you say to me or if I don't like your question, even if you're a reporter from a newspaper. This is also the man who asked his constituents to, quote, vote white. Okay, so everyone who protested when the protesting, the rioting, the looting started on May 30th, Frank Rizzo's statue is one of the first targets. It was spray painted. A Black Lives Matter sign was duct taped to his hand. He was pissed on. Other
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, other liquids were thrown on it, and it was graffitied. It was taken down the very next day after it was cleaned off. The Frank Rizzo statue was taken down. Everyone who complained about it being taken down and their history being robbed was, get this, white and Italian.
No. Don't say light and Italian like they're
Yeah.
separate.
But I mean, white folks didn't like it. Whether or not they were Italian, I don't know. But so like the people that were really pissed off that Frank Rizzo were white and Italian. I'm not putting those two together. I'm just saying,
Sure. Yeah, I
yeah, it's
got you.
like why? How could they do this? Oh man, he was such a great man. Meanwhile, everyone who is black or white with sense said that should have been gone a long time ago. He was not a great man. He was just a bully. And the excerpt from the great website PresidentSteveRock.com that has the Frank Rizzo interview, you'll see what a bully he is to reporters that were just asking him questions, and since he hadn't been mayor for a number of years, but still threatened to take on all three of yous. I'll take yous physically, were some of his quotes. So.
Then Steve had, I'll take you sexually
I'll
too.
take you sexually.
If something comes out of it, I'm putting it in.
I'm putting it back in. Okay. I'll start with you first, and you go over there. I can just watch.
Tag him in.
But Frank Rizzo was not and because we know Frank Rizzo and there's history of Frank Rizzo, we know he was not a good man. His statue being taken down was controversial, but long overdue. Christopher Columbus, on the other hand, we don't have any video footage. We don't have any interviews with. We don't, what type of man he was. What we do have is history. And the history of Christopher Columbus is not one to be celebrated. Certainly not one to have a day named after him. He discovered the wrong country.
Amerigo Vespucci.
An actual Italian, okay, discovered America and we are named after him. Now, an Amerigo Vespucci statue needs to be, whether or not it's in Philadelphia, but that's the statue that needs to happen. But right now, the only discord in Philadelphia is the people standing in front of the Christopher Columbus statue with baseball bats and golf clubs, threatening anyone who walks by or says something about it. So that's the only right now. Everything is calm except for that.
Oh man.
Dan Calachico, who's very familiar with Philadelphia, has been involved in his own war against people here in my neck of the woods that are defending the statue and don't want it taken down. And while I've gotten into my share of scuffles this week about people on Twitter saying their rights are being violated, and if they don't feel safe in their own home because of people wanting to take down the statue. I get it, but I don't get it. Your life isn't in danger because you're Italian. A cop isn't going to look at you and immediately know you're Italian and give you a hard time. You can pretty much still go anywhere you want in Philadelphia and other parts of the country without fear of death, even though you're Italian. So,
well, the Italian, the heart disease and cholesterol, I do fear that.
Gotcha.
To be fair.
Yes, but those are internal things that could get you. Nothing, no one dressed like a cop is going to. Yeah, but yeah. So that's what. But you, Dan, have had a much longer week than me because you've been engaged with these.
No, nothing I've ever had to deal with is longer than anything you've had to deal with, Craig. Don't even fool yourself. Don't. I appreciate it. Nah.
Gotcha.
Here's the other thing. If you want to correct me, please do. I don't want to be incorrect about things. Like I was talking to my friend. You know what, Harry? I agree. The statue of Christopher Columbus, if we're not going to put Amerigo Vespucci up there, should be a statue of Harry Barnett. Because I guarantee a lot of Italians or a lot of Philadelphians walk around going, what? Who's the? Okay. And then just move on. That I agree. We should absolutely commission a video, a statue of one Harry Barnett. If you're going to correct me, Viral, what's up, man? Thanks for coming to the room tonight. Appreciate you being here. If you're going to correct me, be an adult about it. Circle it. Don't circle it and go here. Because you've done it twice. This person I'm talking about, you've done it twice, and I'm going to treat you like you treat me, like I'm your daddy and you're my child. You're on strike 2. Next time you're off the timeline. I don't care about Twitter clout, especially in Flyers Twitter or wrestling Twitter. I don't care. Don't do it again. We're done. And right now I'm talking to another friend who said, like, we're having disagreement. It's like, I didn't call you a. He's like, you call me an asshole? No, I didn't call you an asshole at all. Yeah, Harry, we finally agree on something. Let me ask you one last question, because I saw this floating around and I was retweeting. I was like, oh, perhaps that's not a great idea. But they were talking about in Tennessee about taking down the statue of Robert E. Lee and others, and putting up a statue of Dolly Parton.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel great. She's maybe the greatest American songwriter, greatest songwriter in history of America. Why wouldn't she deserve a statue? She's certainly done more for Tennessee than Robert E. Lee ever did.
That's true.
Yeah. And if they can make a statue of Lucy, I mean, they redid the statue of Lucy. If you remember the first one, it was kind of ghastly.
I remember, yeah.
There's a statue of Henry Winkler. And Henry Winkler, of course, was one of the ones who said, yes, there should be a Dolly Parton statue, because Henry Winkler, an icon himself, even said, yeah, well, if I got a statue, then Dolly Parton definitely deserves one. Yeah, I feel very good about Dolly Parton having a statue, especially in Tennessee.
Yeah,
like I said, she's maybe the greatest American songwriter.
I know there was some disagreement, and I was not about to enter my white-splaining self into that conversation, because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That perhaps it wasn't a good time because of Black Lives Matter and the violence against African Americans and everything we're talking about, that perhaps maybe another white person wasn't a great idea. I was like, I ain't touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
No, well, see, Dolly really, I mean, yeah, she's white, but she really transcends race, because the song she's written, and because she's so woven into American fabric, that having a statue of her isn't going to piss off any black people. I mean, and because most of the songs she wrote made other black people famous. Does anyone know that song, I Will Always Love You, made popular by Whitney Houston? Who do you think wrote that? That would be Dolly Parton. So, I'm cool with the Dolly Parton statue. Anything, I mean, as long as Robert E. Lee, the main thing is Robert E. Lee statues be taken down is the main thing. Whether or not whatever goes up in its place, I'm cool with. And if it's Dolly Parton, if it's Pee Wee Herman, just is wrong. Long as
I like Paul Rumens, but perhaps that would go better in front of a theater.
But some of the things that were proposed in Marconi Plaza, instead of Christopher Columbus, why not Rocky Balboa? Or, hell, even Gritty at this point.
Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier has a statue. I don't think how. Yeah, moving to Bronx. If Nick Foles could have a statue, why not Carson Wentz?
Well, I mean, Carson Wentz has to. Yes, I agree with you, but I think we wait until he holds a trophy or breaks some of those other records. Yeah, I agree. Yes, essentially, I agree with you. Yes,
or even Gritty at this point.
How many Dr. J statues we got? Because I think we can use like 6 more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 6 for his number 6. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. See, okay. I'm not just a white boy talking about basketball.
Yes, I know you do a guy, or even Allen Iverson statue. There's none of those.
What about Charles Barkley, because he's Charles Barkley? What about Wilt Chamberlain? My brain froze for a second. Reggie White.
A Bernie Perron statue.
Bernie's got it. Oh, Kate Smith. No, that's a bad idea. No, never mind about Kate Smith.
Or Bobby Clark statue. Or
you would think that Philly was used to losing statues around here. Hey, listen, I joke around about Italians being mad about it, because it's really sad to see that. I guess overall is adapting and moving on isn't a thing. And it should be. That's just me. Like, I don't understand the problem with learning that, the stuff we were told in school might not be accurate and we should learn new. I'm not for like canceling Dukes of Hazards off TV. That's so. I kind of draw the line in entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to like Bull Run Battlefield or any of the battlefields of the Civil War and saying take it all down. That's where that stuff belongs.
Yeah. Now, as far as Dukes of Hazzard, you don't need to cancel the whole series if you want to blur out the rebel flag. I'm cool with that. The way the WWE does with anything that has F on it, they blur out the turnbuckles and all the all the old WWE matches on the WWE network. So just blur out the rebel flag, the General Lee.
Harry Barnett says Morgan Freeman needs a statue, but it needs to be a speaking statue.
Of course, he had to press a button and then.
Yeah. Hello, this is Morgan Freeman, and you're in Philadelphia. This is Marconi Plaza. And I know a guy that could do the voice. He's a white guy, but if you don't want to pay Morgan Freeman, I know a guy that can do it.
I have his number in my phone. I can text him to do it. And if this is May, it's one damn fine month.
No, I'm telling you, if you call Frank, he's going to tell you about this other guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about. I'll tell you off air. It's Josh Robert Thompson. He's the guy. Frank does a great Morgan Freeman, and then I'm going to I had a perfect wrestling transition coming up to get us into a wrestling talk.
Okay.
When you hear Morgan Freeman on The Family Guy or on voiceovers, and even in some movies where they didn't get Morgan Freeman, they get Josh.
Okay.
And the joke is who knew that the only other Morgan Freeman in the world was a skinny white boy from Cleveland?
Wow.
Who loves going back to Cleveland, air quotes, because Cleveland's so not racist.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, going home's real fun. But look up the JRTshow.com. I'm telling you, that impression. He does a dead on George Lucas, like dead on.
And who does George Lucas?
Josh Robert Thompson does. Nobody, literally, he owns that one.
He has to.
I'll show you the skit. I'll send you a video of the skit later. Okay. He does a dead. Craig, when I say he does a dead on Robert De Niro.
Okay. Because a lot of people have.
He even does the face. That's what puts it over the top. Not only does it sound like Robert, he does. Yeah. He's got the breathing. He does But you'll see what and you'll know who this is because you like old movies. Mm. Talking to Frank means something different over here. Well, Harry, it's don't even
thing. Yeah.
John Carradine.
Wow. Okay.
And I mean the same thing with Robert De Niro. When you watch this impression, you go, "Holy, okay." When I don't think I can find video of his John Carradine because he's not put it on video. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, if you close your eyes, it's like John Carradine is alive again, talking to you. And he does this impression of John Carradine where John Carradine has this ego. So he's like, I'm the greatest mother effer in the world. I've been in 3,000 motion pictures, and I don't give an F what you think. I'm not doing it justice. You gotta. Josh Robert Thompson was Donald Trump in the Family Guy episodes last year. Gotcha. He's been working on that show for 8 years. I know you've seen him.
Yeah, well, I've been watching Family Guy for longer than that. So if I've heard it, then I've definitely...
Do you remember the Late Show with Craig Ferguson?
Yes.
Remember he used to have the skeleton?
Yeah.
That's Josh.
Yeah, Josh. Okay. Josh is a skeleton. Perfect.
Josh was the robot skeleton. Don't bring that up, but he was the robot skeleton who sounded a lot like Sulu. Oh, bye. So, back to our original conversation, breaking it up a little bit. Mm. As far as editing out is it the stars and bars? Is that what they call it? The bars and stars, whatever the bars and
called it's called the Rebel Flag.
The Rebel Flag. As far as the Rebel Flag.
Confederate flag, yeah.
You've been watching wrestling when the Freebirds were running the show.
Yeah.
Do you edit that out? Do you take that out? Do you leave that in? What you, as who you are, Craig, all these years later, like what would you do to it?
I leave it in because there were not tons, but there was enough characters that came in the ring with the Rebel flag on. Michael Hayes, his robe had the Rebel flag on it. Sweet Hansen, when he turned face, I remember when he first turned face, and he was one of the bad heels, even though he was late in his career. And when he first turned heel, Saturday afternoon. I mean, turn face rather, Saturday afternoon, and then he wrestled that night at the Spectrum. Huge hand for him, and he came in waving that rebel flag, and the place went nuts because he just turned into a good guy. Dick Slater, when he wrestled for the WWF for a cup of coffee, he was known as the Rebel. Dick Slater. His T-shirt was him in a Rebel shirt. The Freebirds, when they wrestled the Road Warriors and they had the Confederate flag face paint. That's iconic, but they only wore it once. That's the only time they ever wore it. But when you look at pictures of the Freebirds, iconic pictures of Freebirds of them with the Confederate flag face paint. They only wore it once. You leave it in because it's part of wrestling characters and it's part of their makeup. It's part of their who they are. When I think of the Freebirds, that the Confederate flag, especially in Texas, you have to understand they're coming from Georgia, and they're like Southern, different type of Southern. So they would make fun of the Hicks in Texas, and like meaning we're from Georgia, we're from a real state. We know what country is. So that was part of their character to put them over the war against Georgia and Texas, because they were coming from championship wrestling from Georgia. They had their own built-in audience and going over to Texas, and they make fun of the rednecks in Texas while promoting Georgia, even though two of them were from Tennessee, one's from Alabama. But anyway,
whatever.
and Michael Hayes was born in Philadelphia, so we'll take all that. Yep. But no, you leave it.
Whoa. First of all, Momo, what's going on? We got to get her on too. We're gonna have Derek next week. We got to get Momo on because she loves talking about wrestling.
Hi, Momo.
Yes, HIAC is Hell in a Cell. Yeah, it was. We named it. Dean named the show and the old network after the old forum that was run, which then transferred to Facebook, which he named the podcast when we both left another podcast because the guy running that was kind of a jackass. As Dean calls it, my Moby Dick. Also, Harry, I have no tears. You don't affect me. Yeah, semantics. I'm always up to semantics. Thank you. Craig, the last thing I wanted you to do, and you can decline if you want. Since we're talking about the rebel flag, Christopher Columbus, and people being offended that they're trying to take those things away, I want to use this opportunity as I said something earlier this week, which I believe that most people are ignorant and not really like, F you black people. I think most people are like, they don't know. I truly believe that. There are some that aren't. Like that picture I posted earlier with the African-American cop standing in front of, just, man. I think most people are willing to learn. So I want to give some people a chance. Harry, you get a camera crown when I deem you important enough. Momo would get it before you, Harry. And you be nice to Momo, or I'll boot you. I want you to explain to people how that kind of thing makes you feel. Why the rebel flag makes people, African Americans, anxious and upset. Why the Christopher Columbus thing is something that's like, whoa, back up a little bit. Instead of saying they're all racist, because, again, it's about 50-50. The ones that aren't perhaps, like I said, ignorant to it, let's use this as a learning experience. Why don't you just explain why this message is coming out right now?
Well, now, and a lot of people are saying the timing, because especially with black people with the Confederate flag, there's a long, storied, bloodied, divisive history with that flag. And people are saying, well, it's been like this for so long. Robert E. Lee statue's been up for so long, for decades, and the rebel flag's been around so many different things. Why are you upset now? Why is this bothering you now in 2020? To any white person listening, or any white person who doesn't get it, it's always upset us. It's never not upset us, because we didn't protest 30 years ago, 40 years ago, or make us think about it, because as a black person, we have been trained, conditioned, taught this is how it is. We'll just ignore it. We can't do anything about it. We don't have as much say as we should. So why make us think over a Robert E. Lee statue or a Confederate flag? But through the course of many, many decades, and we're now at 2020, where we do have a voice, because the amount of people that look like me have been killed unjustly by police, by an institution that's pledged to protect and serve us. Now they're killing us. Well, now we are going to say something, because people use the term "our history" when they're talking about the Confederate flag or the Robert E. Lee monument. People like Donald Trump like to use our history, our glorious history, because he doesn't want these statues removed because it would take away our reminders of our glorious history, our history. He's talking about people that look like him. He's not talking about people that look like me, because I have a completely different history when it comes to that. That's not our history. That's not my history. My history when it comes to the Confederate flag and Robert E. Lee, and I had to remind folks, if we take it away, again, we go back to the books that people that criticize my way of thinking don't read. These are the people that wanted to leave the United States because they were for slavery. The Civil War was about slavery, and these people lost. So you're making a monument, a statue to a loser. You're waving the Confederate flag is the flag of a loser. Same as waving a Nazi flag. They didn't win, folks. History is recorded by the winners. If you're waving a Confederate flag, you're waving the flag of a loser, of a second place person, of a person that's not good enough. So if I can impart anything to the people that I argue with about if they're if they don't know why these statues are Confederate statues don't need to be taken down. It's our history, if we're all Americans here, is very uneven. So while you may think that you're taking away something that you're taking a great pride in, please know that the number of people that died unnecessarily for that pride, and people of color that you may have one friend of, that includes them. As far as Christopher Columbus goes and the Marconi Plaza, again, we're honoring someone that does not need to be honored. And if it's going to take till 2020 for us to realize that Christopher Columbus was a rapist, was a looter, all the people that I got a bad rap, because all these looters, these savages, these animals that were looting, Christopher Columbus was one of the first in 1492 of looting and pillaging and taking things that weren't his. He went the wrong way, folks. He didn't discover America. He discovered a land that was already occupied, and then he took it by force. That's not someone that needs to be celebrated or honored or statued. So everyone in Marconi Plaza that's been there all day and all night, and I hope to God you have jobs, because if that's your job, to stand in front of a statue with a golf club to protect it from what? From your history being stolen? You're on the wrong side of history.
Yep. Now, we got that out of the way, and we're going to continue to open the show with these kind of things when I feel it's relevant. When right now it's always relevant. Last week for that, this week. That's all I can say. I think we should Chris Benoit, Christopher Columbus from history, and replace his name with Captain Crunch. That was Harry Barnett. That's the first thing you said today that was funny. So about 15 minutes ago, I agreed with something for the first time, and about 30 seconds ago, you said something that was funny for the first time. So it took you all day. Not bad. Not bad.
Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, the sun shines on a dog's ass at least once. So back to wrestling before we go to the wrestling historian. This Sunday was Backlash.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the main event. Well, what should have been the main event? Let me rephrase that. Hold on. What should have been the main event, which was Edge versus Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. I wanted to get your thought. I was thinking about you when I said this on Twitter, because it was like we talk about these matches all the time that go an hour or more in the 50s through the late 80s that went Broadway or just went to a time limit or went beyond an hour and a half, because that's the way it used to be. And so when the match was first over, I was like, you could probably cut about 15 minutes from it and it'd be all right. I mean, it would be perfect. Because right off the bat, I'm going to say this. Was it the greatest wrestling match ever? Who knows? When wrestling ends, we could say yes or no. As of right now, that was a fan-friggin-tastic wrestling match. And who knew, minus the WrestleMania match, lift the mic a little bit there, Craig, just a tiny bit. Thank you, sir. If you hit it just right, it catches all of your deep, dark, sexy breaths. I just wanted to... minus the WrestleMania match, which was just the wrong place, wrong time for both of them. Who knew we were going to get a great match out of Edge and Randy Orton? I know, it's crazy. But I watched it again the next day, and I took that back. That match was fantastic. Don't cut anything out of it. We could argue about how many finishers were used, but I'm saying right now, I think in a couple years, we're going to put that with a, not at the same level, but it's going to be on the same list, Craig, if you get what I mean, as a Steamboat Flair, Flair Sting, all those matches we've mentioned after the golden era is what I'm saying of wrestling with Bruno and all those guys from the early 80s to mid 80s. I think it'll be on a list someday. I liked it. I really did like it. And I went into that match with low expectations because just wrestling right now is a low expectation. Then I have an observation after your answer to tell me I'm wrong completely. I can feel it. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay.
It was a very good match. It was an excellent match. The only thing you're wrong about is that it should not have been the main event.
You think it was good in that spot?
It was fine in that spot. It should not have been the main event.
Oh, okay. So I was saying it should have been the main event. Okay.
No, it should not have been the main event. You made such a big deal. I'm not you, but I mean the WWE had made such a big deal out of and the struggle for and the inevitable ascension of Drew McIntyre. He's your WWE champion. The WWE champion should be the main event of every pay-per-view going forward. This man beat the Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes.
That's true, man.
So, and taking nothing away from the match itself, champion should always be main event, period. Especially if you're putting so much stock into Drew McIntyre, then don't relegate him like that. And his match with Bobby Lashley was very good too.
That was a good match.
Yes,
I agree. It was great. And Bobby Lashley's speaking aside, that's why MVP is there. I don't care because I've liked other wrestlers that can't talk. Bobby Lashley, his in-ring ability has never been in question. So I think that whole thing with Lana is just poorly timed and poorly executed, and it looks like we're finally getting to an end of it. But Bobby Lashley himself in ring, I never questioned his ability. Of course, it was going to be a good match, in my opinion.
I agree. As far as the Randy Orton Edge match, they had a lot to live up to, and they put a lot of pressure on themselves, but they delivered. One thing that I didn't like, the only thing I currently hate about professional wrestling as a whole, and this goes for both shows, is in treating it like a television show. The different cutaway shots.
Oh my god!
But I mean the lockup camera. There's obviously not a camera in the ring that's looking up at them. So now it's a TV show. Now I'm watching a drama series. That's the only thing that took it away from me. And it was only a couple of seconds. So it doesn't take away from it. It didn't ruin it. It's an excellent match, and they went straight through. That's what I like best. And the reason why I say it shouldn't have been a main event, because it was already recorded somewhere else. So you could put this match anywhere. That could have been the first match. So that's why your champion's always got to be your main event. And the thing that distressed me the most coming out of this really good match between Edge and Orton, who know each other very well, and the amount of near falls they did of using other people's finishing maneuvers was a great touch. Both of those men, especially Edge, because he's been off for 8 years, look just as good. And Orton's a perfect opponent for him since they both know each other so well. Randy Orton, even he's 40 and can still go. And just amazing. It's like he's the last like remnant of old school wrestling there is because psychology, his facial expressions, he knows where he is in the ring at all times. He knows what he's doing. There's never any wasted moment. He lets the moment speak for itself. The thing that bugged me the most about this was after the match, we found out that Edge tore his tricep. He didn't tear it during the match itself. He tore it when they went to reshoot one of the finishing maneuvers. When he caught Randy off the top rope, I think in an RKO. On the second or third take, he tore his tricep. Now Edge is out for the rest of the year. This speaks to my disdain and disgust with professional wrestling as a whole because it's not wrestling anymore. Now it's a dramatic TV series. Now we have to have different takes. Now we have to have camera angles for one match. It harkens back to my disgust for the graveyard match with Undertaker and AJ, or the House of Horrors match with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Now these are sketches. Now you're producing a 1 hour drama, a 1 hour action show. It's not wrestling anymore. This is not professional wrestling. If it was professional wrestling, you tape the match straight through, and that's your match. No cutaway camera angles. If you want to do the overhead shot, that's fine.
Sure,
But
it's the old NWA days, you know.
Yes, and that's perfect. And before I forget, the MSG microphones coming down, the voice of Howard Finkel made me well up.
That was really
Absolutely
cool.
Amazing tribute to him.
That was really cool. I thought
Yes.
them throwing that in there was really cool.
It really gave the match the gravity that, I mean, it's already being billed as the greatest match ever before they even locked up. So it really made it a big match feel to it. That was an incredible highlight. The match, of course, was incredible. Absolutely. I have nothing bad to say about that match at all. I can nitpick about the camera angle and stuff like that, but the fact that Edge is out for the year because they had to retake a move from the match completely disgusts me because there was no reason for it. Now Edge is back. You have him back full time, and now you can have Edge and Randy going into SummerSlam or going into Survivor Series or whatever. But now it's gone because it's not wrestling. It's a drama show that they had to retake, and he got hurt on the second take of a move that they already did.
I didn't even think of that. The lockdowns and the way they were filming everything changed wrestling again. Just as I was about to say, Craig, that last week was the first week I watched all the wrestling shows, AEW, Impact, WWE, whatever else was airing. Aesthetically, it's very interesting to see them all look virtually the same. And I mean, when you don't have the crowds and the business WWE does, the crowds of the business that the AEW was doing, Impact, AEW, and WWE are kind of on a level playing field. Right?
Yeah.
Presentations are the same, sizes are the same, and it really puts it in perspective of what the shows are like and what in-ring product shines through the other. Now, I'll say Backlash was very good for the WWE, but Raws and SmackDowns, except for AJ and
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan, of course, was amazing.
Yeah. It's impossible for them to have a bad match.
No, they could sleep through a good match. It's just the way it is. They could both be sleeping. It would be a great match. But aside from a few flashes of brilliance in WWE, it's really you're really getting a look, if anybody cares, without the indies, of who can do the product better right now. So I'm just saying, this is from a perceived WWE only mark. That's me. That's what people tell me. Watch other wrestling. Because right now you're going to find out who you're going to watch after this, whenever this is over, and we can start going to shows again.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to, the big boys and the big toys and the big girls and the big, everybody's going to, we're going to find out who's hanging around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a smaller, Craig, the mic again, brother. A little higher. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got to find out a way to warn you without being verbal on the air, so I don't.
No,
really
I'm no, and I my fault because I'm trying to hold my breath and I'm trying to keep it because
don't hold your breath. I need you to I need you to live. Don't breath holding. I need you to live. Yeah. I need you breathing in my ears, but not that much.
I can breathe.
Oh, geez, that's not.
See, I can make that joke.
I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not emoting to that one. I'm letting you have that, sir.
Thank you. And speaking of, I'm sorry, were you finished with your thought?
I was just going to yeah, pretty much. I'm just saying that I say, like, don't, the last couple of weeks, you don't have to watch wrestling live. You don't have to watch what other people tell you to watch. Like CM Punk said, it's on the intro of this episode. I've just decided it. Watch whatever you want, especially now that everything is on kind of visually a level playing field. Watch everything, because you're going to find alternatives that you're going to go, oh, maybe I should watch that instead. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I enjoy your pair of pennies. And speaking of when we get back, it was just released yesterday.
Yeah.
I believe that first I heard it was an enhancement talent, and then I heard it was an on-air talent that tested positive for COVID-19, a WWE wrestler. First I heard it was an on-air talent, then I heard it was a developmental talent that tested positive for COVID-19.
Did we find out who it actually was?
No, I still don't know. As we went on the air today, I still have no idea.
Well, here's the thing. There's one thing I do want to clear up that Brian Alvarez originally reported, that they were telling people that they couldn't wear masks. That's not true.
Okay.
They were adhering to the 6 feet thing. Those few, like the family and friends that were at the show this week.
Yeah.
And because they were adhering to the 6 feet thing, they were not enforcing the mask rule, but they said if you wanted to, you could. They weren't saying no, you couldn't. Number one. Number two, if that person is mixing in with somebody, they should probably go back to no crowd for a little while. Because as far as I know, as much as I have things to say about some of the talent that's on Impact, and that's like 2 people, three. 2 people are in the abuse class. The other one's just a jerk, and I hate him.
The same type of people, or the same number of people that are there. But still, I wouldn't take any chances.
No, exactly.
I would have run for NXT today. I would have run a best of show or something. I didn't think it was, especially so soon after being tested positive, and they're there all week. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Just another indicator, folks, that we're not done.
Yeah, no, we're not done. Like the stuff scaling back. You gotta watch that. You gotta watch it. You know what I mean? It's not over yet, folks. Man, it's been a good week. Lots of stories, lots of things to talk about. Not all wrestling this week. Whether you're watching Part A or Part B or listening to both, I think it was one of my favorite episodes we've ever done, Craig. So I thank you. With that being said, where can people follow you?
They can follow me if they want on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at Craig Ligons, CraigLiggeons.
Follow me on Twitter at DanLaw83. The HIAC Wrestling Podcast is proudly part of the VOC Nation Radio Network, VOCNation.com. If you're on an iPhone, if you're on any smartphone, go to your podcast app, type in the VOC Nation Radio Network. Once again, VOC Nation, voice of choice, VOC Nation Radio Network. Or if you want to watch us live, if you're not watching us live, twitch.tv/DanLaw83 every Wednesday, and watch every day at 8 o'clock, please. or youtube.com/Daniel83 to watch it later. For Craig Lagans, I'm the Above Average Comedian Dan Calchico. We'll see you next week, hopefully without any technical difficulties. Thank you to all. Reverend Julia, Momo, D-Hugs I saw on here. Go Sox was on here. Viral was on here. Mystery 001. Aegon for the host. Senpai. Sub to Senpai was watching too. Thank you all for hanging in there during the technical difficulties and the many more that came through the room. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.